All right. Hello, everyone. How are you doing today? My name is Segun Adelibige, your host for today's meeting, Club BFI's March meeting. Today, we're talking about co-invest in brilliant tech startups with Professor Ndubisi Kekwe, who is the chairman of Tekedia Capital. Today is Monday, the 31st of March, 2025, and in Nigeria, it's 7 p.m. In Australia, it's already 5 a.m. the next day. We have a couple of members who are based out of Australia, and then we've got some members also in the US, 2 p.m. Thank you very much for joining. We really appreciate every one of you. As usual, we're going to hand over to Professor Ondubisi. He's just going to join the meeting any time from now. Yes, if you have questions, please feel free to keep your questions to the end of the meeting. We would allow you ask your questions or you put it in the chat box. Just for the context, for those who don't know Club BFI, Club BFI is a financial club, and we also do membership. We're membership community based. We're membership community based. We have corporate members and we have individual members. For individual members, we do financial literacy, investment opportunities, of which this is an example. And then we also do entrepreneurship. And for our corporate partners, sorry, I need to mute some of you here. For our corporate partners, we do trainings, mentorship, consulting, and a whole lot more for a lot of corporates across the world. If you go check our website, you'll see some of our clients. So for our investment thesis, apart from the fact that we validate, investments that we do with corporate organizations, they are tested, they're trusted, we've done our due diligence. We have an array of investment opportunities, cycle-based and non-cycle-based. There's a time they open, there's a time they close, and tech startup is an example of investments that opens at a time and then it closes at a time. At this moment, we've invested 6 cycles in tech startups, and we've always invested with Tekedia Capital, and we are proud partners with Tekedia Capital in this regard. Let me check if Prof is on the call at the moment while I hand over to him. Yes, we'll still expect more people to join. We're just about 22 at the moment, but yeah, we still expect more people to join. Prof is not yet in. Let me see if he's having an issue or he's asking for the link. Okay, so let me give him the link and then he's going to join right in. Oh, okay. I think he's in now. Let me quickly check. Okay, he's in now. Prof, good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening. Sorry, I was just trying to make sure you guys have done your homework before coming here to listen to classified stuff.
No
So, how
problem,
are
sir.
you? How is everyone? Great.
I'm very fine, Prof. Thank you so much for joining us and thank you for the honor always. We are so delighted and humbled to have you, sir.
No problem. So, thank you so much, everyone, for the invitation. And I'm here whenever you think we are ready, we can begin. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Yes, sir. So we are actually ready. I've already introduced you, and then we are going to take questions at the end of the session. So, Prof, you
Okay.
have the floor to go ahead and present and talk to. So, of course, we are still expecting more people to join, and then we will still have some people who will not join, but they'll get the recording. And we already
Okay.
have people who are
Okay.
sending in their monies for this cycle of investment, which will be our 6th cycle with Tekedia.
Thank you so much. And good evening and good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's quite great privilege to have this opportunity of coming here to have this conversation on how to actually build partnerships to drive that efficiency in the utilization of factors of production through entrepreneurial capitalism, building companies and advancing prosperity and wealth of communities and nations. So thank you for that. I'm Ndubisi Kekwe speaking today from the United States. And thank you once again, Shegu, for extending this to Tequila Capital.
Thank you,
So
sir.
the topic we will be having today is co-investing in brilliant companies, I will say here, but I'm going to look at it from a slightly different framework, not just going straight into investments, because the most important thing is just making sure we understand what we are trying to get ourselves into. And to do that, I like to begin with this simple, just a very simple map for the globe. And here you see nice pictures, nice colors, nice shapes of different countries and continents. It turns out that also here you can also think about paralysis and challenges around the world. The issues of FX, the problem of lack of clean water, the inadequacy of electricity, the banditry, all these are all frictions that we have in our world. Frictions are the perturbations, are the challenges that customers in different categories actually have. So you have these customers as individuals, you have these customers as businesses, you have these customers as organizations, you have this also as governments. All these frictions are here. And also, this is a beautiful word, a word of abundance, where a man called Jim Ovia is collecting about 20-something billion naira as dividend from the bank he founded a couple of decades ago. Just in 2024, he's picking more than 24 billion naira in a year. And then the same thing, Chinedu Bello is also capturing the same value. And now Dangote has added extra $13 billion in his network, according to Forbes. So that means the world we see is a world of abundance. It has so many, many things. But fortunately, also, it's a world that's full of many frictions. So the question here is that how do we fix these frictions? How do we overcome those perturbations? It turns out that across human history, one thing has been a vehicle to overcome those frictions. And that thing is business. That thing is company. That thing is the broad component of entrepreneurial capitalism. In other words, combining factors of production, turning raw materials into products and services. At the end of the day, targeting those frictions in order to overcome them. So businesses are real agents to drive that efficiency that we see in the market system. And all those frictions we come in our world to see, we encounter. Yeah, just mute everyone, or if you want, I can think we have some that if you make me a co-host, I can also help you.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. You can just mute everyone if it's possible. I think to just make it easy. Yeah. Okay. Great. So the frictions are those challenges. The frictions are those problems, and what we need to do here is to take them out. Those frictions are lack of clean water, whatever they are in different forms. Businesses solve them. And why do we need businesses? We need businesses because market systems are imperfect. And because of the imperfect nature of market system, the efficiency that we expect in the relationship between demand and supply cannot happen at optimal equilibrium. In other words, markets cannot just function without companies, because companies provide very, very important functions to move an imperfect system towards an optimal perfect system. And then we say, going back to elementary economics, Professor Lawrence, he defined economics as a social science which studies human behavior as a relationship between us and scarcities, which have alternative uses. In other words, that means that there are so many perturbations in the world that we have to now figure out how we can allocate factors of production in order to fix those difficulties that we have. And allocating those factors of production, we target specific frictions in the market. Business has to do that because of information asymmetry. What is information asymmetry here? Information asymmetry is that problem which makes it impossible for demand to know what supply has, and for supply to know what demand needs. So let's assume that nobody has invented banking. Let's assume that nobody has, for any reason, created the business of restaurants. The options that we have now are supremely limited because somebody may be hungry, but he may not know that somebody has food to sell because there is no business or restaurant. Another person may also have food, he may not know that somebody is hungry. But because somebody created a business called restaurant, whenever you are hungry, you don't start roaming around asking, do you have food to sell? Do you have food? I want to buy food. What do? You look for a business called restaurant. That restaurant is a business. It has overcome that friction of information asymmetry which existed between that man who has that food and that man who needs to eat food. So business solves problem. It overcomes that friction, that problem between demand and supply. And whenever that happens, you know what happens? Demand and supply can now have an opportunity to now do transactions so that markets can now function the way it has to function. Now, if that restaurant has to be established so that the person who needs food can find food to eat and the person who has food can actually sell food. The question now is, how do you run that restaurant? And we say that to overcome frictions, companies need to have capabilities. Companies need to have capabilities. And these capabilities, they come in different forms. They come in different ways and different shapes. We are looking at capabilities of knowledge. We're looking at capabilities of capital. You need capital to run businesses. Capabilities of labor. You need young people that can actually get the job done. You also need that risk taker, that visionary, that person who can bring everything together. That is the risk taker. That is the man, the woman who can now help us get into that spirit of entrepreneurial capitalism. So the constellation of knowledge, the risk-taking, the capital and labor, bringing all together will help us to create the capabilities that we need in a business. And those capabilities are divided into three components. And these are the helix upon which businesses are built. The first is the people. Every business, every government, every organization, you need a people. The second is a process. Within that organization, within that government, how good is the process? The way you do things, how are those things done? Now, the tools. You may have the people, you may have good processes, but if you do not have the tools, you cannot build a great company. You cannot build a great government. You cannot build a great organization. In other words, you need people, you need tools, you also need process. There are so many constellations of these processes. They could include the standard operating procedures you use at work. They could also include the legal systems at the national level. They could also include the way people just live, behave, trust factor in any economy. But we are not necessarily going to focus on those things because those things are outside the domain of entrepreneurial capitalism. At that farm level, what we are focusing now, what are the processes for that restaurant business owner? How does she make her nkwobi, zobo, and all those things? How are those egusi soup prepared, the jollof rice? Those are the processes. And even when those processes are defined, are the tools available? Are you still using typewriter instead of using laptops and computers? Are you still trying to, hey, when there is AI that can help you generate that image, are you still paying somebody 100,000 naira to create an image when the AI can give you the same thing for free? So those are now the tools that are available. Do you have that AI tool? Do you have the processes to make that business do well? And do you even have the young people who can help you put things together? These are the foundations, the pillars upon which businesses are built. And remember that when those things are all connected, you now have the capabilities. Because the essence of the capabilities is to actually help you to go right and attack the frictions that those customers have. Customers have frictions. They have those challenges. But they need to have the opportunity for somebody to come and fix them. The capabilities of firms are entwined in what defines those companies. They release them in the markets, and beautiful things had happened. And also, going back to my secondary school education, and I had the opportunity in the village, my teacher, Mr. Aham, was explaining the constructs of natural philosophy and explaining the constituents of natural philosophy, getting into physics, chemistry, mathematics, and biology. Explain the whole construct, physical science, biological science, the science of numbers, the matter, relationship, the energy, the beautiful science of substances and properties, and the study of life, zoology, botany. He came into this whole wide spectrum that life is nothing but philosophy. And he said that we did not understand very well until we now got into the first year university. When we got to Futo, Professor Ashebu, our logic and philosophy lecturer in GST, first year in the university, tried to ask us one question. What is the original foundational pillar of the world? What is the universe made up of? What is this world made up of? It turns out that many centuries ago, Greek philosophers were trying to understand the essence, the meaning, and the constituency of the universe. If you read through that, and many men came up with so many things. Plato said that the world is made up of water. Heraclitus said the world is fire. The Pythagoras said something, said that the world is nothing but numbers. He said that everything in the world can be put in a numerical form. And if you understand the numbers in everything you do, you win in that particular thing. Because if you can have an insight through the numbers, you can measure and you can improve. So I like to get into this constituency of entrepreneurial capitalism by going through that Pythagoras postulation that the universe is nothing but numbers. And if that is the case, the business of humans, the business of universe has always been about numbers. How do we understand everything? How do we make sense of the world? We have been building our machines across human history because man, woman, we want to understand our world. We just want to understand our world. And that's why we keep inventing computational systems to make sense. Because Pythagoras say the world is nothing but numbers. And if the world is nothing but numbers, the human business, the business of humans, the business of humanity is nothing but to understand. That means we have to build machines. And from abacus to slide rule to difference engine to invention of transistor, by Shockley to the invention of integrated circuit by Robert Noyce and Jack Kirby, to all the time Bill Gates helping personal computational system to the modern age of AI. Man, woman, we've been trying to do one thing, understand the world. Because the world is nothing but numbers. And if that is the point, it's also an opportunity. Because if you now see people who are gathering together to build machines to help to understand the world, they will win the future. Because through those numbers, opportunities of the future have been unlocked. Because the propensity to make sense of the universe is always going to be correlated with the better understanding of the world through those systems. History and plotting data across centuries. There is that correlation. Those who build those better systems win. We go back more than 1,500 years around here. The world was in a state of stasis. GDP was flat. No more growth. Generations of people who live apart could not experience any significant change in their living standards. Population was growing per capita income was decelerated. Because if GDP was flat over time, the implication was that population was growing and even GDP was flat, it means that per capita income dropped. So people who lived here are poorer than people who lived here, were poorer than people who live here because population increasing, flat GDP, poverty. Reverend Marcus must have met him in your junior secondary agricultural science. In second year in junior secondary, you must have learned about his postulation that the food production was growing in arithmetic progression, while human population was growing in geometric progression. Reverend Mathers wrote that if that trajectory should continue, the man will reach what he called the Malthusian catastrophe. The Malthusian catastrophe was basically saying that human population will grow to the point we won't have food. But he never expected what happened here. That the flattened GDP will now begin to rise. As I explained extensively in Harvard, that this was the turning point of humans. Because many things change. That a world that was linear in growth started seeing exponential growth. And that exponential growth opened a new dawn in our world. Interestingly, not every part of the world experienced this rapid change. Not every part of the world experienced this exponential growth. Some are still stuck here. Nigeria, Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, excluding South Africa, they are all here. They are still catching up on that Malthusian catastrophe. Wealth, nowhere. Per capita income dropping. People who lived in the decade of 2010s are now better than those living in 2020s. People who live in 2010s are certainly worse than those who lived before. And that means that if you now look at the Nigerian history, the older you are, the more memorable things you have. When your past is better than your future, when people who came before enjoyed a better life, you are actually at the early stage of the Malthusian catastrophe. Because that means that the population is growing faster than economic opportunity. That means standards of living will drop, prosperity will vanish, and pockets of all amalgam of problems rising up daily. But that is not what we are coming here today. What I'm coming here to say here is, how do you come out of this issue? Wealth was not here, but knowledge was here. If you look at physics, study of matter with relationship to energy. If you look at chemistry, the study of substances have properties. If you look at the beautiful science of numbers, mathematics, men who invented many things gave us a conceptual construct. They lived here, but they died poor. They didn't create any product. They only came up with understanding of the world and the universe. They gave us the understanding of natural philosophy, but they didn't have product services. Later on, men here, women here created products. That is how the world is. It's not about the idea. It's actually about the product and services. So the question here is this. Everyone has knowledge in Nigeria. Enter Molwe Park, they will tell you how to fix Nigeria. If you go to Bia Palo in Aba, somebody has all the solutions. But give that person 10 years, nothing happens. Give that Molwe guy 20 years, nothing happens. I've called it the inventive society. Here is what I call the innovation society. And I've also extrapolated a hypothesis to include what I call the accelerated society era. This is an era of abundance. This is an era of prosperity, driven by AI autonomous system. But we are still here. They have moved from invention to innovation into accelerated society. Now, question here is this. Wealth is here. Nothing really here. Just a lot of people with PhDs, people with all nice articles in Guardian newspaper and Punch. They write, they explain, they go to WhatsApp, they go to and speak and solve all the whole problem writing. Nothing happens year and year. It's the same article. But here, they get their hands dirty. They build. They fix our problems as societies. They are innovators, not inventors. Now here, they are accelerating that pace of innovation and they are picking up. How can you help? So the issue here is this. We can see cycles. I call them the universe of opportunities. And in every society, you can always see what Pythagoras was talking about. The decades of 2010s in Nigeria brought us the telephone era before. The generation banks came in 1990s when they used technology to change the ordinance of banking. Put money in one bank account. In the old Diamond Bank, you could withdraw it in any bank account, in any branch. Before them, it wasn't possible with Union Bank and First Bank. New generation banks made the integrated banking system possible, that irrespective of your location, you can operate a bank account anywhere you are. That was a leap. It wasn't like that before. Before, you travel to Kano from Lagos. If you run out of cash, you come back to Lagos for the same Union Bank account branch you open that account. If you go to Kano and, hey, you run out of money, there's no other way, even though you are suing the same Union Bank. Union Bank gave us that leap, and then voice telephony came, then later mobile data, and then we are in the age of application utility. This application utility is a Cambrian moment of massive leap of where young people are bringing the fusion of these mobile internet, building software system, artificial intelligence to now unleash in different sectors so that at the end of the day, those frictions are noted on those maps will happen. Now, they are changing things in agriculture, changing things in technology, changing things in energy, digital, and all areas. And I'm not saying there are no challenges. There are going to be huge challenges. But the issue here, for you to move from here to here, somebody needs to build products. This is invention society. This is innovation society. The difference between invention and commercialization is that innovation is equals to invention upon commercialization. Until you have commercialized that invention, it's not innovative. A construct of innovation is that it has been commercialized. We are not commercializing, but there is an opportunity, and that opportunity is what we are participating in Tequila Capital. And that means that we look at young people who understand the constructs of this amalgam of innovation and see how we can support them in so many ways. And that's basically what we do. And it's looking very, very good. We help them build fixed frictions and driving on that construct of numbers. So because of that number component, we like to do things in technology because technology is always how you get those numbers going. It doesn't mean that we only invest in technology areas. Hey, we invest in every industry, just like we want to have technology as a key component of it. Of course, with AI now, it's also the way. But AI is not what we invest in. We invest in real business, but AI can be a tool because, hey, technology is also nothing but a tool. The people, the processes, and the tools, combining them together, you get very beautiful things to happen. So AI is here as part of the tool. It's never the AI alone. It has to have a value in that business. So that's what we do. And what we are saying here, I know in their community, in the community, we invite you all to join in one way or whatever, in what capacity you can, so that we can continue to support these entrepreneurs so that they can do what we've done. And we've invested in many great companies, Koji, Conductor, Quantum, and if you look at this company called Carry Card in Lagos, Touch and Pay, one of the first companies that got in. We've invested in EgoChain, the only blockchain level one blockchain in Africa, Egoras. So we have dozens of businesses, and we would like to have a partnership. And as we continue to have with this club, and thank you so much. I think that's where I will stop. And hoping if there's any question, I'll be very happy to.
All right. Thank you very much, Prof. It's always a pleasure listening to you. A lot of learning points. Thank you so very much. I will just go straight to taking questions. Please, if you have any question, kindly use the chat box or feel free to unmute your mic if you are not in a noisy place. But if you're in a noisy place, please use the chat box and let's quickly take your questions. And then we can release Prof to release Prof back to his
No,
busy.
no, that's okay. I think we have 1 hour here. Just you don't have to rush. This
Okay.
is scheduled. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. So are there any questions, please? Feel free to use the chat box or ask questions. Prof, I actually have a question concerning the dearth of investments in African tech companies, and a lot of investors have been pretty much worried because a lot of people have seen companies fail. And if you don't mind, if you could speak a bit on, what form of security investors have. Yes, I know people should invest what they can afford to lose, but there is a reason why we partnered, and we have a couple of people who do not have a touch with Club BFI before now. And I think it would be good for them to also hear from you on the I won't call it security, but some form of comfort for investors who are willing to join us in this cycle. Like we earlier mentioned to them in our community, we've invested in about 5 cycles before now, and this will make our 6th cycle, and we'll be welcoming as many people to invest in Tekedia through Club EFI. So if you could speak on that a bit, just to give comfort. Now, I know you're not making promises or giving guarantees and
No,
all of
no, you
that,
don't have to worry.
but
Actually, it's not really. I'd say, of course, the first thing there is just this is a very risky business. Of course, everyone understands that, but it's also a high reward business. If you look at the gentleman who invested $5,000 in Uber, when Uber went public, I think that $5,000 turned into 27. Was it 27 million? So it's one of the most fascinating domains when it comes to the market system. But of course, it's also supremely risky. No doubt about that. Tekidia, we've never had any bad stuff, and we keep hoping that it stays that way. One thing that we look at here is we look at so many foundational things before we invest in a business. First is that, do you have an IP? If you don't have an IP, it's very unlikely that we'll be interested in investing in a business.
Okay.
Because we will not give you more money than the value of your IP. Because if something bad happens, we need to see how we can call that IP to actually use that to mitigate that exposure. I think we've had an issue where we have to activate that, and when we do activate that, we end up actually getting more value on the money. So if you come to us, you say you want us to give you, let's say, $100,000, we want to be sure that your IP is at least worth 100,000, and you have to agree that if you should have any issue, that we'll get a copy of that IP. And if we get a copy of that IP, we will do something with it. We can sell it or we'll license it. And then using that, we will recover our money. And we do that, making sure that, I mean, it's fair to you. After all, you've already given up. Nothing is happening. So giving us a copy, we're not asking you exclusively, but that's one way that we have been able to make sure, we calibrate how much we give a startup, and we model it based on that. And that is also the reason why it's not every industry that we get it. It's not likely that we're going to give somebody money to start a farm, because if you fail in the farming business, there's really nothing you can hand over to us.
Sure.
But it's very likely that if you want to be a middleman, going across villages in Osun State or Abia State to bundle smallholders, farmers, we will be very happy to give you money on that, because you're going to build software. You'll most likely have some funds. You also have to optimize so many things in technology. And we'll give you money that every money coming to you will not be past more than the value of that tech. So any day you say it didn't work out, we say, okay, let's have a copy of that. There are other people who are doing great stuff in other verticals. They may like to use that to expand into that. I think we did that in one of our startups that is in the real estate business.
Yeah.
We had a startup in the insurance tech.
Yes, sir.
He said, I actually need an insurance brokerage to expand my real estate. They just acquired that. And then I think it returned about 3 or 4x for everyone. So even people were happy. So that's one of the ways we try to mitigate and some of that. And that is also the reason why it's not everything that we like to fund. So that's what I would say there. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Before I come to my second question, there's a question in the chat box, and I would still like to encourage people to ask their questions. If you want to ask your question, please raise your hand, and then I'll allow you to have the mic. And if you want to put your question in the chat box, please proceed to do that in the interest of time. So Samuel is asking, thanks for the presentation, Prof. Regarding the selecting startups for investments by Tecadia, are there processes, models, or selection criteria? I think you spoke about IP, but I'll still allow you to shed a bit more light on that. He further said, you also highlighted the high level of risk. What has been the most loss recorded by Tecadia from investing? So I'll allow you to answer this question, sir.
Okay, yeah, so we've not actually had any loss. And not had any recorded loss. And it also has to do with process. Like I said, one of the richest black men in America, I think it's Robert, right? I think, let me check the richest man. I should remember all those things because I also want to be among that list one day. Even though I'm a village guy. So the guy who owns, I think it's the
BlackRock.
rich, I think what?
Is it BlackRock?
You said what? Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Is it David Stewart?
No. It's not David. There is it's one of the he owns a fund. I'm trying to use his business to, not David Stewart. David Stewart just took over from him. Robert Smith. I think it's
Robert
Robert
Smith.
Smith.
Okay, Robert Smith. Okay.
Yeah. So Robert Smith invented a simple technology. And what technology did he invent? Invented a way. Maybe you can call it an asset class or fund or whatever. But I think it's a real stuff. He said he will buy software companies and use those software companies to make tons of money.
Mm.
So what he does is that he raises funds, he buys software companies, and he now runs those software companies and generate a lot of people say, are you going to pay $500 million on software or things like that? He said that when he buys software companies, he's actually buying the contracts that they have. Just like the same way when you are going to buy real estate, that you also buying the title to the land.
Yes.
So the real deal there is most times people don't appreciate the value of IP. That if you have a very great IP in a business, that IP can actually insulate you from losses. Very huge risk. So this man can say, I'm going to pay 500 million for a software company. It doesn't make sense because somebody could be at, but he said, oh, look at it. They have a 10-year contract with Microsoft to supply them this. I quantified the total value of that contract. And he made that and he became a billionaire. He was working either in Goldman Sachs, in one of the top Wall Street. He proposed that to his boss. The boss said, no, that's crappy. You know what? He left. Robert Smith left and founded that fund. I think it's Equity Partners Fund or something. Yeah.
Get Equity.
Yeah, Equities Partners. And he's worth about $10 billion today. So that's the same thing. We believe in the power of an IP. And that is one of the ways that we try to stay within our lane. We have not had any catastrophic failure. And we continue to make sure that we optimize our processes.
Okay, thank you, sir.
And so.
Okay, go ahead, sir. Sorry, I thought you stopped.
No. I just finished that. Go ahead.
Okay. So a follow-up question to that is, what if other investors also have a registered interest in the IP, intellectual property?
No, that's why I said we just ask a copy. We're not asking for exclusivity.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have, and there is a way we do this in a way that is not catastrophic for the startup. But remember, for you to call for this, that means the startup itself is giving up. You can give to every person who don't really care. You can also keep a copy. But you've already failed now. You've already shown that you can't do anything. So what are you eating it? Let everyone get it. The advantage for us is when you have an ecosystem with more than 100 other startups. There is always one startup in our community that will say, hey, Prof, we need that. We just pay for it. Because they could have actually gone ahead to build the center.
True.
So, okay, for instance, ShopTrue wants to expand into supporting their B2B customers with banking solution. And there's something they need to build. It would have taken them 2 years or so. Hey, they just say, hey, if you have that fintech and who acquire it, they will take care of all the investors, give you 3-4x, and they acquire it. So, like there's something Elon Musk did last week. SAI acquired X.
True.
The reason why that is possible because the SAI and the X, they are within that closed ecosystem. If these are two distinct entities owned differently, it would not have been possible. So that is also the advantage when you have a large community, because there is somebody within that community that needs something that can actually help you dispose that particular asset in a way that nobody loses money catastrophically. That's really the points there.
Okay.
In short, in this cycle we are coming in, we are bringing a company that specializes in buying struggling companies. It's an American company. That's what it does. And actually, I have been trying how to alert all these Nigerian companies that are shutting down. If you are shutting down, come to us, we can buy you. But the only problem I have is I don't want Mr. President to remember me for wishing young people to be shutting down their company. Otherwise, that's really what we want to do here. Because so many of them are having difficulties. So,
yes.
I mean, we acquired QZAC the other day and we would have bought more. But the problem is, you don't want people to know you as wishing dead to start us. So it's a very difficult marketing to do, but it's business really, and it's a legitimate business. You are paying them money instead of getting nothing. But Nigerians will just flip it the other way around. That if they send you an email because you are struggling, so otherwise, yeah. So we are bringing that business here,
Yes.
Rocketable, and the goal is to just open it up. You have a company that's struggling. We have a company that buy out investors, make sure nobody loses money, because that's what they do for a business in America. Right.
So the second to last question says, is there a process for exiting investments?
Yeah, that's a very, very big question, because it's not a public market where you just wake up in the morning, you want to sell your Zenith Bank or UBA or Microsoft or IBM. This is a private market. That means there needs to be somebody who is interested to buy before you can exit.
Yeah.
Exits always come through secondaries. I think we have one startup that invested last 2 years, and we're asking our members, they have an option of cashing out at 10x. Nobody showed up.
Wow.
Yeah, you saw that Niagara's.
Yes,
yeah, the one we mentioned. Nobody showed up. Nobody said they were interested. And it was an unfortunate thing there, because this is an opportunity. If you put $10,000 to get $100,000, nobody showed interest because they believe that it could hit
a unicorn.
It could hit 1 million. And
Yeah.
they have a chance because Egoras has the only layer one blockchain in Africa. So the real deal here is exit is secondary. You invest when the company is worth 10 million, 20 million, and there is now when the company is worth 300, 400 million, somebody's investing, they can buy you out. And that is actually the way, yeah. So, but it has to be controlled, because it's not public market where you can just call your broker and want to sell. I just want to make that very clear, because one of the problems with private investment is that you don't have that liquidity that comes every day where you can just quickly go and sell the day you want. So that's not.
And you're also not allowed to do insider trading.
Yeah. You can't do insider trading because we control that one. It's not possible. So this is not like you just go and find your friend and say you want him to buy you out. No, we don't allow that. But as Sheikh Musa have told you, we're getting a stock brokerage license.
Yeah.
And that will make us, just like have Nigeria Stock Exchange, we will also be an exchange. When that one happens, we can create more liquidity, but that's not something that will happen at least up to the next 3 quarters, maybe towards the end of the year. So until that happens, yeah, even with that, of course, it has to be listed on the exchange before you can.
Exit.
Right.
All right. Mr. Folabi is asking, Prof, thanks for the presentation. It's really great to hear that you have not recorded any loss. That's very refreshing. Is there somewhere we can see statistics of the performance of the startups you have invested in one place, say in the last 5 years?
No, no. We have our members have our meeting. I think 2 times a year we report that to our community, and it's not something we want the press or TechCrunch to put on their or tech about. It will be very devastating. So unfortunately, we will not share with that with you. But our members come for what we call business review, where we review it. And we do ask our members, please don't share that because it will be very, very embarrassing for us to be the leaker in chief. If we are known as a place where those things leak, that's bad. But if you are looking at our businesses, when we invested in Touch and Pay, it was worth less than $1 million. Today, it's worth more than 300 and
300. Yeah.
I think even claiming $500 million. That's the carry card in Lagos.
Yeah.
So we have so many entities. That's returning more than 400x. So in short, one can afford to go for chieftaincy title now just for that. So is it Koji? And we have Koji, we have Conductor Quantum, we have Entangle.
Yeah.
Entangle is this one that calls the CEO of Amazon. And this company is so rapidly expanding. So we have very great companies. Unfortunately, we don't just go and post them because it's not even healthy for those startups.
Yeah.
What makes it great for them is ability to control their conversation. You can come to them, they'll tell you their valuation is 100 million. And because they look at your phone, but they can also tomorrow say it's 200 million because there is a news that Trump says that particular area is where. But if they now push everything public, you're already armed with information about them. So that ability to control their intellectual property, which is actually their valuation, becomes very critical. So we don't disclose that. But if you are a member, you attend our business update, which I think the next one will happen in May and then early June, and the other one will be in around November. Thank you.
Okay. Final question. I can see here says Prof. Ndubisi, as the founder of Arilo Homes, a tech-driven real estate platform, I am exploring ways to attract investors. Given your experience in the startup investment, what strategies would you recommend for securing funding from investors who are interested in prop tech startups in Africa?
Okay, so 2 things there. Nigeria has a very foundational challenge. That foundational challenge is our currency. In short, the number one problem you encounter in this business is not even the startup. It is the markdown of their total earnings, unfortunately, as a result of the loss of the iteration of the currency. For instance, if in February 2023, you are generating 1.5 billion naira as revenue, you could call that comfortable $3 million using the exchange rate of 420, 425, whatever. But at worst case, 500 naira per dollar. That's 3 million, right?
Sure. Yes, sir.
But now that naira is basically 1,500, that $3 million is now 1 million.
Correct.
Remember that the white man or the investor outside Nigeria is not interested in your naira. They have to convert everything to dollar.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden, you are watching there where you used to record $3 million, you are forced to record it 1 million. And if the valuation is based on multiples, so you say, if you are generating a revenue of $10 million in a year, we multiply it by 6 to have a valuation of $60 million. You had 3 million, they multiply by 6. Now you are having 1 million. That means you've lost the valuation a factor of 3.
True.
That was what happened to Flora Wave. He wanted to go IPO. They marked down everything about Flora Wave. Now he was making profit. Now he started making loss because so that was how the IPO thing just died in New York. And even Money Points, all of them were marked down because their naira equivalent was still good, but the dollar conversion was, yeah. If
Wow.
you are in real estate, I don't know how somebody will give you money to do that. It's a very tough one. We have a company in the real estate, but that company has a SEC license to do fractionalization of real estate, which is HS Africa.
HS
It's
Africa.
going to start operations next month. The goal there is by the fractionalization, it will have a stable coin component that it can actually receive investments in Naira and the USD and other asset classes, so that the risk is not going to be 100% domiciled in Naira. That's the technology part of it. And the company that is powering that, we're also bringing it in this next cycle, so that the company that will power it, that we also want to own a part of it. So, but if you're just doing real estate in Nigeria where everything is in Naira, I am not sure a lot of people outside Nigeria would like to give you money. However, people in Nigeria will give you money. So that means your investors should actually be those that run everything in Naira. But not many people have appetites to fund, because the deterioration in Naira, people will still expect. So we're expecting that within the next 2 years, Naira will still lose value, because there's nothing Nigeria is doing now that is strengthening Naira. So there is just nothing Nigeria is doing now that you say in the next 2 years, Naira will strengthen. I don't know about it. I mean, this is not a political statement. This is a pure economic
Reality.
synthesis analysis.
True.
So if that is the case, a little shock somewhere will push Naira to 1,008, 2,000 and things like that. And nobody wants to give money. That's the reason nobody has been investing in Nigerian startups recently. And that is also the reason in our life cycle, 90-something% are foreign. This one we are bringing more than 98% are foreign. The Nigerian ones we have, the mandate is go and find how to sell abroad and that dollar. That's nearly all of them have converted to figuring out how to earn dollar. Otherwise, you can't really have any business because of that. So
no hope for tech startups in Nigeria because of these forex issues. They should just go look for VCs and angel investors who don't mind funding in Naira.
yeah, that's the only option, because I can't give you money today and in 2 years' time it's now 2,000. There is no acceleration of value that you can do to compensate for the loss in the deterioration of the currency before we talk about whether you are returning anything or not.
Right.
And this investor lost significant amount of money. They gave money when it was converted at 450, then it lost within 2 years 1,005. That means they are already off by a factor of 3, and there is no way the startup would have grown even to compensate for that. They are human. That's why Techstar left. That's why MasterCard Foundation left. All of them left. True. Because if you look at the balance sheet, it looks very hopeless. But that is also where our sagacity comes in, because, hey, you now have to see how do you navigate this company out of that paralysis. And then they have to now go and earn dollars. Yeah. I'm sorry to say this. I mean, I'm a Nigerian, but we have a long way to dig ourselves out of the currency mess. Thanks.
All right, sir. Thank you, sir. This last question, I quickly skimmed through it. Okay, let me just take it because I really don't take questions like this. It's not related to, but anyway, it says, thank you, Prof. This is from Oladipo Damilola. It says, thank you, Prof, for this insightful session. I recently launched a health tech startup called Solayo, where we provide support to pregnant moms and e-commerce platform. I need guidance on what steps to take to get the right investors in our business. Prof, I don't know if you want to take that answer.
Yeah, it's fine. So the right step in your business is to build something that anybody that sees it will say, hey, if I leave this company, I'm missing something. I don't really know providing support. I mean, I hope that mothers here, they are not going to come after me. But remember that this is not charity.
Yeah.
And it's not charity. Are you providing for mothers in VI, Lekki, Maitama, and maybe GRA Port Harcourt, or are you providing for those in the Makoko, is it Makoko area or Ajegunle? With all due respect. So that's what that investor is interested in. You may think you are doing a noble job. Perfect. It's a noble stuff. In that case, go for grants.
Yeah.
Go to, unfortunately, there's no more US aid. So you go to DFID, UK. You go to GIZ of the one in Germany, and then you go and start looking for Ford Foundation, MacArthur Fellow. But if you are looking for a VC to give you funding for this, it may be a very tall order.
It may be a tall order.
I mean, it's going to be extremely tough because, yeah, they understand you are doing a great stuff, but they don't just see how you can actually create a lot of value. Because of one thing, the population you are targeting is not really what they feel that they can make tons of money, because the many working mothers are already stressed economically, and what can you really sell them more than that? So it could be grant based that you have to pursue.
NGO.
NGO kind of stuff, even though those NGOs, most of them are also struggling, because when MasterCard Foundation left, they left with millions of dollars out of Nigeria. So that's also the reason when we look at, okay, government used to subsidize dollar, now government doesn't subsidize it. Now companies have to subsidize. So when you now look at, even IBM has left Nigeria. If you look at the salary that IBM took out by exiting Nigeria, you just realize that many people have been affected. And like all these startups, if Nigeria used to bring in $4 or $5 billion every year, and now you don't get anything because you remove this government subsidizing Naira. And when the government removed it, the startup lost their, they used to get about 4, 6, 7 billion. They lost it. So that is also an opportunity cost. Did you get the point I'm trying to make here? So somebody may, hey, okay, government is no more paying for a subsidy, and government is no more paying a subsidy of Naira dollar. But I say, hey, who is paying it? It's not the startup that cannot get money. And calculate how much you received in 2022 or 2021, and you are not receiving that again. You are now paying for it.
True.
Because the fact is this: in Nigeria, Naira has no capacity to stand on itself. Either the government subsidizes it or the private sector subsidizes it. Government used to subsidize it, and the private sector was making money. The government flipped it, say, private sector, you subsidize it. And then MTN that used to pay a lot of tax now is now losing money.
And the government is now losing money too.
And government is losing tax. So at the end of the day, they say in the Igbo nation, a bird that flies from the ground and perches on the anthill is still on the ground.
It's still on the ground.
Because the private sector has lost the money they would have given you. So at the end of the day, you see, I was looking at the books the other day. I said MTN that used to pay up to 300 billion or whatever, it used to pay a lot of money.
Declaring losses.
It's zero now.
Increasing tariff.
and now the federal government is taking a lot of bond to fund this because there is no more tax revenue from companies. So at the end of the day, somebody needs to just say something. We have to fix Nigeria so that we can fix this startup. Otherwise, Tequila Capital, we are no more funding Nigerian companies unless you can earn dollar. I don't say that without feeling bad, because a lot of good guys come to us now, unlike before. Shegu, you were in the last edition now. You saw you were American, Mexican, Indians.
Indians, yeah.
Even the Nigerians there were all foreign Nigerians. That's what it is. And we have no reservation because we tried to do the right thing. But there was a very massive economic coup. The currency deterioration. That time we did everything that no startup failed. And we are very proud of it. So in short, one of our startups will be paying dividend next year. The bank one. And we are happy. All of them were under stress. True. So we were able to navigate them that where they are coming. So thank you so much, gentlemen. It's always great. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen,
thank you,
for the opportunity. And please, we welcome you to do this with us. And Shegu and the club, please continue to work what they're doing, like your partnership. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prof. All right. Thank you, everyone. Can you just please appreciate Prof before we allow him go? Let's just thank him for honoring our invitation.
Thank you
so much,
Prof.
Yeah,
I'm the one that should thank them, actually.
Thank you. It was very enlightening.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you so much. Stay blessed. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Prof.
All right. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. So we bring the meeting to a close right away. For those who do not know about Club BFI, I dropped the chat box.
Okay, guys, sorry,
I dropped in the chat box, how to connect with us on social media and also on our website. And then if you are from the WhatsApp group, I'm just going to drop a link for you to connect to our Club BFI alumni, which is a WhatsApp group we maintain for everyone. Then we have the paid community. So for any service you need whatsoever, support you need, you got to join the paid community. All right, thank you very much. Have a wonderful night rest. And for those in Australia, wonderful day ahead. And from me to you and from all the executives of the club, we wish you a wonderful new month of April. Thank you very much and bye. See you in April.